What's going on YouTube? It is Repulse back in another video. In today's video, we have another Chelsea news video. Sorry for the inactivity. I've had a lot of stuff come up in the last couple of days that I had to attend to, which was my priority. But, hopefully we're back with the daily news videos. Should be able to get them out, you know, pretty much every day, if not every other day. So, the trend of news videos will definitely be picking up soon. But for today's video, we're talking about stuff that happened, either yesterday night or, throughout today. So we can get straight into it, talking about Xavi Simons. Yesterday, Florian Plettenberg said that Xavi Simons remains fully focused on an agreement between RB Leipzig and Chelsea. Manchester City are currently not a hot topic, despite being previously reported. That was in my last video, was the day that Manchester City were linked to Xavi Simons, but nothing concrete there, nothing that's a hot topic pertaining to Manchester City and Xavi Simons. Chelsea are staying patient in their pursuit of Xavi. Deal still on. Current salary at Red Bull Leipzig reaching up to $14 million, or 14 million euros gross, excuse me, if all bonuses are triggered. So I think that's around, I want to say like 220 a week in euros, so around like 190 million or 190,000 pounds, something like that. So yeah, pretty high salary, but that's if all bonuses are triggered. So not getting 190,000 a week is Xavi. So personal terms aren't an issue, and we figured that out today as Ben Jacobs talked on Alex Goldberg's playback stream. I fully recommend that you go subscribe to that. Go subscribe to Alex Goldberg. Excuse me. Go watch his streams. There's a lot of insightful information on there. Whether or not you choose to believe him, that's your decision. But I do think he has very reliable sources within the club, and I do think that Ben Jacobs is very reputable, and he was on the stream today, and he decided to say that Xavi Simons has agreed personal terms with Chelsea ahead of a move to Stamford Bridge, and Florian Plettenberg backed that up with his eyes and a check mark, basically saying yes, this information is true. He has agreed personal terms ahead of the potential move to Chelsea. So what's holding this up? We know what's holding this deal up. It's the outgoings, and we have more on that. As Fabrizio says that Xavi Simons to Chelsea is waiting on the exit of Christopher Nkunku. Bayern are considering. I guess he meant to put seriously. Bayern are seriously considering making a move for Nkunku. For Garnacho and Simons, we wait, but I think Garnacho will 100% happen. So yeah, basically Nkunku out, Xavi Simons in. I expect Nkunku to head out the door pretty soon because there was a lot of links today, as well as yesterday, pertaining to the future of Christopher Nkunku. But yeah, I don't think anyone needs to stress out on the Xavi Simons deal. Obviously, we ideally wanted him to get here for the first game week. It's fine that he's not. I don't think the deal is not going to happen just because, we haven't got him just quite yet. Might be something that runs till deadline day. Nkunku goes out the door. Xavi Simons comes in. But definitely a player that I do think becomes a Chelsea player. This window, I don't think anyone should really be concerned. I know some people are starting to panic. Hey, this deal's really dragging out. Hey, it's the first, game week of the Premier League in, a couple days' time. There's a Liverpool Bournemouth game tomorrow for the Premier League. So, I think everyone's excited to watch that. But, people are taking that into account, just like, hey, the first Premier League game's tomorrow. Xavi Simons hasn't really advanced. Yes, it's advancing. Yes, it's advancing on the back end. Personal terms are agreed with the player. I'm sure there's a gentleman's agreement between Leipzig and Chelsea for the fee. Just the bid hasn't been placed in because Christopher Nkunku hasn't left the club yet. So, I think everyone should just calm down, breathe. Xavi Simons will become a Chelsea player. I think it's almost a guarantee at this point. Obviously, Fabrizio says Garnacho 100% happen. I think Xavi Simons 90% chance of happening. Maybe there's a hijack in there later in the window if he sees no advancements on the deal to Chelsea and someone else comes in. I think that's the only opportunity that he takes to move. But I do think he does become a Chelsea player sometime throughout this window. But yeah, I think this Nkunku deal is going to have to step up. And there was plenty of links. Florian Plettenberg yesterday said that Inter have now expressed interest in signing Christopher Nkunku. However, Inter's priority remains Ademola Lookman, which we know. A total verbal agreement on a long-term contract is 100% in place, and Lookman wants Inter, but the deal is not yet in the final stages. Obviously, Atalanta are being very, very harsh on their negotiating standpoint. Inter Milan is now looking at Manu Kone, as well as Christopher Nkunku to see who they want to bring in. But he goes to say that Inter, Bayern, Leipzig, and others, Nkunku is one to watch until deadline day. Basically saying, a team might come in for him later on in this window. Obviously, it's very late in the window as of now, but, still got 17 days left, so there's still a lot that could potentially happen. So maybe we see something on Christopher Nkunku in the sometime near future, or maybe on deadline day. We don't know yet, but we do have some clarity from Fabrizio saying that understanding Christopher Nkunku is one of the main names on FC Bayern's shortlist. He's now considered ideal player to cover several positions, but deal depends on cost now. Several clubs asked for Nkunku this summer, open situation. So the way to interpret this is a player, Kingsley Coman. Y'all most likely do know him. Played for Bayern Munich. Pretty much a similar role to Christopher Nkunku. Could play the 10, could play the right wing, could play shadow striker. Whatever you wanted to play, he had the ability to play. Has just left to go to Al Nassr. So, they need that utility guy that can play multiple positions. Insert Christopher Nkunku. Bayern Munich want him. He's one of the main names on their shortlist. Again, ideal player because he can play multiple positions, play the Kingsley Coman role. And apparently several clubs are in for Nkunku, but it's an open situation. But there is more. The Times says that Nkunku is not interested in return to Leipzig. Bayern Munich are the ones considering making a move. And then Florian Plettenberg said that, as always reported, Chelsea and Christopher Nkunku prefer a permanent deal until deadline day. A loan would be the last resort. Decision is clear for Nkunku as he wants a new chapter. Again, reiterates that Bayern, Leipzig, and Inter have all expressed their interest. So those three clubs are the one we have to look out for. Apparently, Nkunku's not interested in returning to Leipzig, but then again, we also heard that he would be open to Leipzig. So, little contrasting opinions there. We'll see, what the player decides to actually do. I do think he would be open to Leipzig because I do think he would know that that's a good place to, pretty much restart his career, start fresh, and then, after a year move somewhere else and really go ball out. But I do think Bayern Munich would be the best move for him because I do think he'd get a lot of game time there, and I think he suits the Bundesliga a lot better than the Premier League. I think he'd be good in the Serie A too, so Inter Milan might be a good move as well if they do come in for him. So we'll see. I think it's a race between those three clubs to see who wants Nkunku the most. Pretty much whoever comes in first, I expect Chelsea to pretty much accept that bid if it's around £35 million. But yeah, we can expect Christopher Nkunku on the out sometime soon because I do think Chelsea kind of want to wrap this Xavi Simons deal up. In the meantime, we have to wait on Nkunku, but again, I do expect these deals to progress sometime soon. Furthermore, behind the scenes, we're talking about Alejandro Garnacho now. Yes, it hasn't been reported much too frequently as of recent, but Fabrizio says behind the scenes, Alejandro Garnacho to Chelsea is very, very advanced and very active. Basically saying nothing's being reported on the mainstream, nothing's really going on between links, personal terms, bids, stuff like that. Nothing's really been dropped on the public eye, but behind the scenes, this deal is pretty much concretely on. Something is going to happen sometime very soon. I do expect Garnacho to become a Chelsea player fully. Again, not my favorite, but willing to back him. It seems like he only wants Chelsea, so we'll see if he does end up coming here. I do expect him to fully come here. At this point, I don't think it's a question of if or when. I just think he does become a Chelsea player sometime soon. So we'll look out for that. But yeah, it's very advanced, very active. Seems like we're very in for Garnacho. More. Fabrizio said that talks for Alejandro Garnacho to Chelsea continue as the background, as the two clubs are in contact. Garnacho maintains his position. Only Chelsea and personal terms 100% agreed. Waiting for green light, basically saying he's waiting for the full agreement between clubs so he can travel for a medical, become a Chelsea player, sign the contract, and all that. But yeah, talks are continuing in the background. Clubs are in contact, trying to agree fee. Obviously, I expect Manchester United to hold firm on their £50 million standpoint, and then Chelsea to be like, dude, you have no negotiating power. We're just going to pay 30, and you're either going to accept that and not get Baleba or any of those targets that you want, and we'll just sit here, and we still have depth. We're still getting Xavi Simons through the door. We have really no need for Garnacho, other than a depth piece. So you can keep your player there. Because yeah, I don't know what Man United are holding out for. Again, they're holding him to a 50 million valuation because we sold Nani Madueke for that much. Well, guess what? Nani Madueke isn't forcing a move, or he didn't force a move at the club. Chelsea weren't actively looking to sell Nani Madueke. Madueke was actually in our plans. Madueke played games for us. Garnacho, not in Manchester United's plans. They made that public. He's pushing for a move. He doesn't get game time. He's just pretty much rotting away getting salary. And if a club comes in for him, they know they have that negotiating power. He only wants Chelsea, um, so Chelsea can bid whatever, and if Man United choose to not accept that, then that's whatever. But we have every single card to play with in this Garnacho negotiation, so I expect the deal to be fairly cheap. Um, moving on. This was interesting. Again, Ben Jacobs was on the Goldberg playback stream. So again, go watch that if you do want to be up to date on Chelsea news, because that's a very informative show. But he said on there that Chelsea are relatively confident of getting a suitor for Jackson. We could get a surprise there too. I've heard of another Premier League club that no one has talked about who are quite keen on Jackson. I wonder who this is. I would have said Arsenal, but at the same time they just bought in Gyökeres. Maybe it's Liverpool if Isak doesn't happen. Maybe they go get Nicholas Jackson. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it's very very interesting situation. I wonder who is actually keen on Nicholas Jackson. Um, obviously Nico's a great player. But I don't think he's really in Chelsea's plans anymore. I also think he has a lot to refurbish to become a top striker. The only reason I say Liverpool is if Newcastle hold out for an excess amount of money for Alexander Isak, which Liverpool are not prepared to pay, then maybe they revert. But they don't have a striker. They just sold Darwin Nunez, so maybe they need to bring someone in, and Nicholas Jackson is that replacement. Um, maybe it's Arsenal. Obviously, Gyökeres is already through the door, but maybe you can see Nicholas Jackson play the left wing for them. We've heard Man United. We've heard Newcastle. Man City? No, they have Erling Haaland. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe it's Aston Villa, but we've heard Aston Villa before as well. So I really don't know. It's probably one of the Liverpool or Arsenal, but yet to be seen. Maybe it comes out in the media in the coming days, but maybe someone comes in for Nico Jackson sometime soon, and he does end up moving clubs, which would allow us to advance on both Siemens and Garnacho pretty quickly. I think once Nkunku or Jackson do leave the club, then Siemens does come through the door, and then we'll see on the Garnacho situation, see if it drags out till deadline day or not. Um, but moving on. Yesterday, Fabrizio said that Renato's Vega future remains open, and several clubs keep moving for the defender. Borussia Dortmund have made approach to consider possible bid, but still deemed as expensive. Chelsea only consider a permanent transfer. I think this is right. You're going to triple your money. There's no need to send him out on loan when he has multiple suitors. I think a lot of clubs are going to come in for the player. He looked very good at Juve. Also looked very good in the games he played for Chelsea. Pretty cut price deal for a player of his age, already in the national team for Portugal. Pretty much has a very good CV to move to another club. I think Chelsea are going to get the money they want for him, which is £35 million. And it seems like several clubs are in for him. So maybe we see something happen in the near future on Renato Vega's future. Obviously, the deal with Atletico Madrid broke down, but we'll see something sometime soon on the player headed out the door. Moving on, David Ornstein gave an exclusive that Nottingham Forest in process of agreeing a £37.5 million fee with Ipswich Town for Amari Hutchinson. Personal terms no issue. Nottingham Forest and the 24-year-old Ipswich Town playmaker both still have other options, so transfer not done, but ready pending final decisions, per The Athletic. So yeah, why is this in this video? It's not Chelsea related. To an extent, it is, because with Amari Hutchinson, when we sold him to Ipswich Town for, I think around 25 million, 20 million, somewhere around there, we put in the 25% sell-on clause. So that £37.5 million fee with Ipswich Town is turning in to I think around £9.5 million profit for Chelsea on Amari Hutchinson. As in, we're receiving pretty much £10 million for Amari Hutchinson to move over to Nottingham Forest. If he does end up going there, I do expect this deal to happen, because I do think Amari Hutchinson is going to want to play in Europe, and obviously Nottingham Forest have Europa League football to play next season, so I think that's a very intriguing move for him. And it'd be fun to see Hudson Odoi and Amari Hutchinson on the wings. I think Chris Wood will have a decent season again next season as well. So yeah, maybe we see Amari Hutchinson head over to Nottingham Forest. But the reason this was in the video is because we have a 25% sell-on clause, meaning we get £9.5 million if this transfer does end up going through. So more money for Chelsea to come in. Great business there to put a selling clause for Amari Hutchinson. On the front of shirt, we have another front of shirt sponsor update from Nisar Cancella, obviously a very reputable Chelsea source. He said that Chelsea are aiming to secure a long-term front of shirt sponsor worth around 60 to 65 million pounds a season, with Saudi airline Riyadh Air being strongly linked. We've heard their name in the past. We're hearing their name now. We've heard, Saudi Saudi companies are the ones that are pretty much putting in the strongest offers for Chelsea. Chelsea's run a shirt. It seems like Riyadh Air is the name that is constantly floating around the club. So, maybe we see them as a sponsor. Their logo looks nice. I think the kit would look nice, with that there. So we'll see if Riyadh Air become our front of shirt sponsor. I do expect the deal to be wrapped up sometime soon. Um, you know, throughout the season or something like that. Um, but yeah, Riyadh Air is the strongest link to the club as of now. Other than that, our new contracts for the directors. The Telegraph says that Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, plus recruitment chiefs Joe Shields and Sam Jewell have been signed to contract extensions that commit them to the club for the next 6 years. Um, I don't know how to feel about this. I think it's well deserved after the season we had last season, but at the same time, I would have liked us to, wait one more season to see if we repeat the success on the upcoming season. Obviously, I think they got it spot on with bringing in Maresca. I think, Cole Palmer was a great incoming. I think all the City boys that, Joe Shields recruited to the club have been great incomings. I think getting in Caicedo, getting in Enzo Fernandez was great business, as well as Cucurella. Keeping Colwill, getting Wes Fafana in was great business as well. Obviously, dropped a lot of money, and I think Wes Fafana was before their reign, but um, most of the players at this club, I think Cucurella was before that reign too. Excuse me, but Caicedo, I don't know if Enzo was. Obviously, that was the January window. I don't know if they're there by January or not. But Caicedo, Gittins, Pedro Neto, Esteval, Cole Palmer, Delap, João Pedro, um, all great buys in the attack, and they were a key part in that. Romeo Lavia in the midfield, um, you know Osugo, Santos, all those guys. Great incomings by these guys. So, you know they do deserve something, and I'm glad that Chelsea did give them a reward in their contract. But I would have liked to seen it drag uh, onto another year. But fair play to them for getting that contract extension. Good for them. Hopefully, they continue their successes moving forward. Um, and then to end the video, a nice little touch to end it. The Athletic said that Chelsea will use a portion of the Club World Cup bonuses paid to players to make a financial donation to the family of Diogo Jota and Andre Silva. Obviously, a horrible tragedy. Diogo Jota and Andre Silva passed away in a car crash, um, I believe around a month ago or so. Shocked the entire world of football. Everyone was, sending their condolences over to the family. Everyone was pretty much in shock. All the Liverpool fan base was in disarray, as well as many other people, because it really gave perspective of, like, every day could be your last day. You never know when that's going to be, so take advantage of every day. Um, Obviously, Diogo and Andre lived great lives, played professional football, which is likely their dream. Diogo Jota also just played video games all the time, and everyone loved him for that. Um, just enjoying his time, had a really great life. But, it's great to see that Chelsea touch in with a little bit of class, giving some, you know, donation to the family. Obviously, it doesn't make up for the loss of Diogo Jota and Andre Silva, but, you know, a little bit goes a long way, knowing that people are thinking of your son. For the mother's perspective is obviously going to take them pretty far, especially when it's an entire club. So, fair play to Chelsea, a bit of class there. And that's where we're going to wrap this video. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Repulse, and I'm out. Peace.